Could this be the best toilet for van life? It's burning. Whoa, look at that. Oh my God, it actually looks like a burnt turd. This is the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet, and I'm going to be sharing how I installed it in my van build, how it compares to other good van life toilets, and how I'm enjoying it so far. Before I share how I installed this toilet, I thought I'd share a little bit about my background with van life toilets and other things I've used in the past. If you're new here, I traveled in my last van for 5 years, and when I began that journey, I actually didn't have a toilet at all. I primarily went outside to use the toilet, similarly to how you would do when you're camping. I would bring a shovel similar to this one and dig a deep hole, go to the restroom, and that you can go number 1 and number 2 as long as you dig a deep enough hole. Put your toilet paper in there. I try to use an easily compostable one and then cover it up and put a rock on top. This honestly isn't a bad option, but sometimes it's really hard to dig in certain sediment, and it's also really not convenient if it's not private outside or if there's bad weather. If I wasn't in a very private location, this is what I would do instead. I would pee in a wide-mouthed water bottle, and I would usually get one with a lid so that I could cap it and it wouldn't leak. Obviously, there's not a lot of volume in it, and I'm a hydrated gal, so this really only lasts like 1 pee. But you just do it once, and then you pour it outside, put a little white vinegar in it to clean it, and it's a relatively easy and simple option. For number 2, what I would do is use something like this, or don't use it at all, and basically just get a trash bag, go number 2 in that, and keep the trash bag. The downside to that is you're carrying around a trash bag of your poop, which is obviously not ideal, so you want to throw it away within a day. And sometimes I'm not going to trash cans that often or in public that often. After a couple years of not having a toilet, I realized I really wanted one, and somebody was kind enough to actually donate one to me, which was so sweet because these toilets get expensive. I went with the Nature's Head Composting Toilet, which is not cheap. It's a little over $1,000, and at the time this was one of the newest composting toilets in the market. They actually really pioneered the industry. Once I got the Nature's Head Composting Toilet, I honestly could not have imagined a world without it. The days where I went to the restroom outside and carried water bottles full of my pee felt crazy. It was so convenient. I didn't have to go to gas stations that were really dirty and disgusting. I didn't have to sneak around people and try to make sure no one saw me if I was going to the restroom behind a tree or something. Show you guys my toilet seat. This is a new addition. I added this about, I think, 2 years in. I initially didn't have a toilet. I believe it is a must-have in a van. So I went with the Nature's Head Composting Toilet, and I built this box around it. This box functions as a seat, but you could take this lid off and use the toilet. It was so convenient, but it did come with some downsides, and I felt that the system could have been improved upon, especially as years went by and there were more advancements with off-grid toilets. Some of the critiques I have about composting toilets is that in the end, they don't really compost. It takes several months to compost human waste, and if you're using a composting toilet full-time, you're needing to change it out every 30 days. So it doesn't really compost. You're essentially just mixing in your waste with a composting material like coconut coir. And as you can imagine, it's really not fun to clean out. It's actually quite disgusting. It has a high ick factor, I would say, for cleaning and maintaining the system. I also had some problems with the urine system in the Nature's Head Composting Toilet. I really loved that it separated the two, so it's not as gross as something like maybe a cassette toilet would be, but it definitely overflowed a few times, and that's because there's no sensor on it to tell you whenever it's getting to a point where you need to take it out. And for me, with multiple people using it, sometimes late at night, someone goes to the restroom, they don't tell the other person I was getting close to the top. You have to shine a flashlight to see how high the pee level is. So I feel like as there have been new options with off-grid toilets, I don't think that the Nature's Head Composting Toilet is really the best option anymore. For this van, I wanted to have a toilet that was easy to maintain and ick-free to maintain. So that really brought me to 2 solutions in the end. And these are the 2 that I debated on for a really long time. The first one being the Laveo Dry Flush Toilet, and the second one being the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet. The Laveo Dry Flush Toilet I have never used, but I know a lot of people are using them these days, and I think it's a really cool option. Basically, it works as a diaper genie, and you go number 1 and number 2 in there. You can do both, and they both mix, but you don't really have to empty it in a way where you're smelling it because the whole thing like wraps up and pushes it down. The biggest downside, in my opinion, to this system is the affordability and availability of the capsules that you need in order to use the toilet. The toilet is a lot cheaper than the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet at $995, but the capsules are quite expensive. Each cartridge is $20, and you only get about 15 flushes from them. I looked it up a little bit on the internet, and the average person flushes 5 times a day. So if you're using the Laveo Dry Flush full time for just one person, you are going to be spending $6.66 a day on flushes, which is quite a bit of money, and it adds up to $2,433 a year. The other downside from this system is there is a little bit more waste. I see that they are shifting to eco-friendly refills where it's made from sugarcane and bamboo, which is really awesome. And I love that they're doing that because I do think this is a really cool system, but I think that it's more suited for people wanting to use it for part-time or in emergencies rather than my application where I want to be using it full-time in my van build. The other downside is you have to obviously get these cartridges, and you have to do it quite often if you're using the toilet full-time. So you need to always be coordinating where to get packages as you're traveling. After researching the Laveo Dry Flush more, I started to really look into the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet. The price tag initially made me feel quite intimidated about it, but whenever I calculated how much the cartridges would add up to with the Laveo Dry Flush, I started to justify it a little more. Because so much of human waste is liquid, this incinerating toilet actually burns your waste down to just matter. Once it has that matter, it just burns it to an ash. So what you have left is a completely sanitary, bacteria-free ash. To dump it out, all you have to do is open the toilet like this. It lifts up, so you need to make sure that when you're installing it, you do have enough room for this to lift up. And then there's a little ash container in here. As you can see, I've already burnt a little banana and some water as a demonstration. It actually kind of looks like a little turd, but it's basically nothing. Like, imagine how much this could hold, and it literally just crumbles away. Now for this toilet, there are liners, but they are so much more affordable than the cartridges for the Laveo Dry Flush. These are the liners. There are literally 500 of them, and look how small of a footprint this is compared to the Laveo Dry Flush cartridges, which is quite big. Honestly, from the pictures I've seen, it looks like one Laveo Dry Flush cartridge is this size, but it only holds 15 flushes versus 500. Last week, I showed you guys how I've been using my Bluetti to power the AC in my van, and I want to show you guys something really cool I've been doing with it recently. When I turn on AC, I usually want it to cool down my van for a few minutes before I actually go in there to work. So instead of having to go into my van to turn everything on and then close it back up, I just go right on my phone and do it all on there. I can click on the power station here, and on the app I can actually see how much power I'm getting, how much power I'm using, and I can turn it on. So I'm going to turn the AC on, and now I should hear my AC come on at any moment. So if you had this power station set up in your van underneath your bed or something, you wouldn't even have to go down there to mess around with it or change any of the settings. It can all be right here on your phone, which is so convenient. This system has 3,840 watts of output, so you can charge quite a lot on this. I'm going to start by adding one of my battery chargers for my drill driver. I use these batteries for everything, so these are really helpful to have charged. Now, while I wait for those to charge, I'm going to clean up the workspace a little bit because we have a lot to do today. Here on this display, I can see that I have 99%. I'm getting 77 watts from the solar panels that I have hooked up, and the batteries are drawing 220 watts. As you can see here, these are the solar panels that I have set up. It's a pretty cloudy day, and also these panels are in the shade from the building, so I'm not getting too much from them. I'm just gonna cover it like this. I'm going to set a timer and we can see how long it takes to draw this battery down. So I just finished sanding, and then I checked my Bluetti power station and it's still at 99%. I am getting double the capacity from solar that I was getting in the beginning. I'm now getting about almost 140 watts because the sun's hitting the solar panels now. But seriously, this power station is such a game changer for this van build. I can power every single tool I could possibly dream of. This is also a great solution for van life. It's easy to set up and you can power any appliance you could possibly dream of. You can power an induction cooktop, you can power an air fryer, all of your kitchen appliances, you can charge your phones, your laptops, you can hook up solar to it. This is an awesome solution for van life. I've even brought this down to the yurt and used it a little bit there. So off-grid living in general just got a whole lot easier with this power station. If you are interested in getting one of these power stations for yourself, this is the Apex 300. The link is going to be in the description of this video. Now there are two options for the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet. You can run it off electrical and also propane. The downside to electrical is it draws quite a bit of power, and for a small van it's not really feasible. At least in my opinion, you could have a huge battery bank, but I don't have that. So I decided to go with propane. One of the first projects I did this week is install this 12.2 gallon Flame King Undermount propane tank. I'm gonna weld the bolts for the propane tank. That way I can service it more easily. I've never welded before. My dad just taught me, and so let's give it a try. Wait, I'm literally terrified.
Yeah, keep it going. Stay close.
Because this propane tank is underneath my vehicle, it doesn't take up any living space inside of my van, which is so nice. Most people report getting about 75 flushes for every 20 pounds of propane. So if I'm calculating that same 5 flushes per day that I used earlier, I should be able to use this toilet full time for one person and only have to fill up the propane tank every 2 weeks. There are a few different brands of incinerating toilet, and I decided to go with the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet. The reason why is simply just the reliability and longevity of the brand. Even though this toilet is pretty new to North America, it's been around for 25 years in Norway. It is also a UL certified toilet, which is one of the main reasons I went with this toilet, to be honest, because obviously you do have an incineration, a little miniature explosion going on in this toilet. You're using propane gas. You really want this to have the safety certification so that nothing goes wrong, and UL certifications are not easy to get. So this passed the test. It is completely safe to have in this van. It's actually designed for RVs, and the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet also comes with a 3-year warranty. It is now time to share how I installed the Cinderella Incinerating Toilet in my van. I'm just going to preface this by saying I recommend that you get an installer to help you with this, specifically for the warranty, because if you do install it wrong, then it could void your warranty. The first step, even before installation, is planning where the toilet is going to go. There will be an intake vent for air to come in through the bottom, and then an exhaust vent. So you need to have room on the roof rack up above for the chimney to come out. In addition to that, you also need to make sure you have enough room on either side of the toilet and enough room in front of the toilet so that you can open it up to get to the ashtray. Also keep in mind that this toilet isn't 100% waterproof. It is IP34 rated, which means that you can put it in a wet room. It can tolerate some splashing, but not direct water above it. There are 2 options for this toilet. You can get a built-in box. I did not get a built-in box. So what I did was I just cut out a hole in my wall basically around the box area in the back, and I just slipped the toilet in so that the back area is in my wall. And I screwed down these screws through the floor of my van. I'm gonna do the 90-degree extension. I'm gonna put some sealant on the bottom of the screws. There are also screws around the perimeter, and I went ahead and did those. In the roof of your vehicle, you are going to have to drill a hole with an 83mm hole saw. I went ahead and did that, and it comes with a little chimney, so I put that in as well. And now you're ready to attach the piping. I'm about to put the exhaust pipe on the toilet. I have a hose clamp, so I'm just gonna slip that on there, and I also have this sealant, which I am going to use and put around the perimeter of the inside of this. I'm mainly just trying to cover up all the grooves so that there's no leaks. And this sealant is rated for exhaust systems and high temperature, so this should be perfect for this application because this will get hot. I have the sealant on the inside of the exhaust pipe, and now I'm going to put it on this fitting up here. I'm going to do a healthy amount. I put sealant around all of the edges. I also used the hose clamps that came with the kit. These are really powerful hose clamps and should prevent any leaks along with the sealant. Insulation also comes with the kit, so I put that around the pipes, and you just want to make sure that wherever you are putting it, it is not squeezing in the insulation. I finished screwing the toilet in, and I also added the control panel, and now I'm going to put the fuse in and test it out. And this was really easy. There's only one port. You just put it together, and if it's correct, then the light will turn green, which it was for me. But if it does not turn a solid green, then just flip it around, and that should be the correct way. It looks so cool. I also added a vent for my AC unit. It comes out in here to cool down the space. And down below I have a hole, and that is where my pee funnel is going to go into. The other option that I'm using for another restroom in this van is a pee funnel. This is a very simple and cheap option to go to the restroom, but obviously you can't go number 2 in this. You can only go number 1. In general though, you do end up paying a lot more than you do going number 2. So I wanted to have this option so that I don't have to use propane. It was also really easy to install. I have this hole saw and I am currently drilling a hole in the bathroom so that I can run a piece of piping through there and attach a pee funnel, and that is going to be one of the ways I go to the restroom in this van. I think that this is such an amazing toilet for the really gross stuff, like going to the restroom and using number 2. This pee funnel is going to be so amazing because you have to pee a lot more frequently than you need to poop. Got this black tubing and I'm gonna just feed it through this hole, and then I also have a hole that's going out the other side of the van and I'm gonna put it through there as well. So right now it's kind of kinked in a 90 and we obviously don't want that to happen, but I'm gonna just feed it through. I still need to work something out to make that look nice, but it'll be back there. Next step for this toilet is doing the gas fitting. So I'm going to cut this copper pipe. Now that we have everything ready for the toilet, I am going to put this wall on. I also cut a hole at the bottom of this wall. That way, if I ever need to service the back of the toilet, I'm able to do that. I am going to officially test out the toilet with a banana that's going to simulate a turd and a little bit of water. It comes with these liners, so I'm just gonna grab one and open it up. And in goes the turd. Yep. Oh my God.
What?
It just sucked it up. Did you hear that? It just went down into a chamber and now it's burning right now. Look, there's a red light, so that means it's burning. So I just temporarily hooked this up to test it out, but I will eventually be running this underneath my vehicle to the 12-gallon tank that I have underneath there. But I have this temporary tank here, a pipe coming in here. This will be permanently in here. This is just a shut-off valve for safety, and then I have a copper line up here, and that goes into the toilet. It has been a few hours, and I'm going to see what we have in the ashtray. This is how you open it up. Whoa, look at that. Oh my God, it actually looks like a burnt turd. That's crazy. That's the burnt banana. Not any remnants of liquid or water too. So that is how I installed my Cinderella Incinerating Toilet. It was actually a fairly easy installation. I honestly think that my heater was a harder installation than this, so it wasn't too hard, just a little intimidating always to put holes in your vehicle. Once you get past that, it wasn't bad at all. I'm really happy with it so far. I'm really excited to see how I like it as I actually move into this van and travel in it full time, and I'll keep you guys updated. Let me know if you guys have ever used an incinerating toilet, what your thoughts are on it, if you like it. If you have any questions, be sure to comment down below and I'll try to answer all of them. I'm also gonna add the link for where I bought this toilet. I got it off Cabin Depot, and if you're interested in that, that will be linked in the description. That's it for this week's video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe because it really supports my channel, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!